Hollywood is where dreams are made, and sometimes where nightmares begin. Behind the red carpets, million-dollar mansions, and dazzling smiles were stories no scriptwriter could have imagined. A rising star murdered by a stalker. A screen legend found dead under mysterious circumstances. Icons whose final moments remain surrounded by questions decades later. Tonight we're diving into of Hollywood's most shocking tragedies, stories so heartbreaking, bizarre, and unbelievable that they prove one chilling truth: sometimes reality is far darker than fiction. Number 1. Frances Farmer. Frances Farmer was intelligent, outspoken, and undeniably gifted. In an era when studios wanted actresses to smile, stay quiet, and follow the script, Farmer had a habit of doing the exact opposite. She possessed beauty, charisma, and the acting talent to become one of Hollywood's biggest stars, but she also had something the industry found far less convenient: a rebellious spirit. As her fame grew, so did her struggles. Alcohol, personal conflicts, and mounting pressure began pushing her life off course. Then, in 1942, everything unraveled. Following a series of public incidents, Farmer was committed to a psychiatric institution. What happened next would haunt her legacy for decades. Farmer later described years of mistreatment, humiliation, and isolation. Whether every story surrounding her confinement was true or exaggerated over time remains debated, but one thing is certain: the woman who once commanded movie screens found herself trapped in a system she could not escape. The cruel irony: Hollywood had celebrated her individuality when it sold tickets, but struggled to accept it when it became inconvenient. Though she eventually left the institutions and attempted a comeback, the scars never fully disappeared. Number 2. Sal Mineo. When audiences first saw him in Rebel Without a Cause alongside James Dean, it was impossible to ignore his talent. Charismatic, emotional, and remarkably authentic, Mineo quickly became one of Hollywood's most promising young actors. His performances earned critical acclaim and Academy Award nominations, turning him into a star before most people his age had figured out what they wanted to do with their lives. But unlike many child and teen stars, Mineo refused to fade away. As Hollywood changed, he reinvented himself through television, theater, and dramatic roles. He continued working steadily, proving he was far more than a youthful heartthrob. Friends described him as passionate, determined, and deeply committed to his craft. Then came February 1976. After leaving a rehearsal in Los Angeles, Mineo was attacked and fatally stabbed near his apartment. He was only 37 years old. The shocking crime sent waves of fear throughout Hollywood and stunned fans around the world. Number 3. Marilyn Monroe. To millions, Marilyn Monroe was perfection. The platinum blonde hair, the unforgettable smile, the movie star glamour that defined an entire generation. She became a cultural phenomenon, turning films, photographs, and even a simple walk across a room into iconic moments. But behind Hollywood's ultimate fantasy was a woman fighting battles few people truly understood. Long before the fame, Marilyn endured a difficult childhood, marked by instability, foster homes, and emotional hardship. Success brought wealth and admiration, but it never fully silenced the insecurities she carried with her. As her star rose, so did her struggles with anxiety, insomnia, and dependence on prescription medication. Then came August 1962. Marilyn was found dead in her Los Angeles home at just 36 years old. Officially, her death was ruled a probable suicide. Yet decades later, questions still linger. Was it really that simple? Or was there more to the story? The mystery has fueled endless theories, but perhaps the greater tragedy is often overlooked. The woman everyone wanted to know was rarely truly known at all. Number 4. Norm Macdonald. Norm wasn't your typical comedian. While others chased applause, he chased the perfect punchline. His deadpan delivery, unpredictable humor, and refusal to follow trends made him one of comedy's most unique voices. Sometimes audiences laughed immediately. Other times, they needed a few seconds to catch up. Norm seemed perfectly happy either way. Behind that mischievous grin, however, was a secret few people knew. For nearly a decade, Norm quietly battled cancer. He rarely discussed it publicly and never allowed the illness to become his identity. Friends later revealed that he didn't want sympathy. He wanted people to remember the jokes, not the diagnosis. When news of his death broke in 2021, fans were stunned. The comedian who built a career on unexpected endings had delivered perhaps the most unexpected one of all. The irony is almost poetic. Norm spent years teaching audiences that life rarely follows a script. Then he lived by that philosophy until the very end. Number 5. Ramon Novarro. During the silent film era, Novarro was one of Hollywood's biggest stars. Handsome, charismatic, and enormously talented, he captivated audiences around the world. His role in Ben-Hur turned him into an international sensation, and for a time it seemed like he was living the dream every aspiring actor imagined. But fame is often more fragile than it appears. As the film industry evolved, Novarro struggled to maintain the same level of success. Though still respected, he found himself navigating a Hollywood that had begun moving on. Like many former stars, he carried personal struggles behind closed doors while trying to preserve the image audiences remembered. Then, in 1968, tragedy arrived at his doorstep literally. Two men entered his home believing he had hidden riches inside. What followed was a brutal attack that ended his life. The cruel twist, the fortune they were searching for, didn't exist. It's one of Hollywood's darkest ironies. A man celebrated for portraying heroes on screen became the victim of a senseless crime driven by greed and false assumptions. Number 6. Paul Walker. What happens when the man who became Hollywood's ultimate symbol of speed loses his life in a real-life crash? For Paul Walker, the answer was as tragic as it was ironic. To millions of fans, Walker was more than just the star of the Fast and Furious franchise. He was the easygoing hero with a genuine smile, a love for adventure, and a reputation for staying grounded in an industry that often rewards the exact opposite. While many celebrities chased attention, Walker seemed far more interested in helping others than helping his own fame grow. Then came November 30th, 2013. On that day, Walker wasn't filming a movie or performing a dangerous stunt. He was attending a charity event for Reach Out Worldwide, the disaster relief organization he founded. It was the kind of thing Paul did when cameras weren't rolling. But after leaving the event with his friend Roger Rodas, tragedy struck. Their Porsche lost control, crashed, and burst into flames, ending both of their lives in an instant. The cruel irony was impossible to ignore. The actor who spent years surviving spectacular crashes on screen couldn't survive one in reality. Yet reducing Paul Walker's story to a car accident misses the bigger picture. Behind the action star image was a man known for his generosity, loyalty, and compassion. Number 7. Dominique Dunne. In the early 1980s, Dominique seemed destined for a bright future. Beautiful, talented, and full of promise, she had just captured audiences with her role in Poltergeist, a film about a family haunted by dark forces. Ironically, the greatest danger in her life wasn't supernatural at all. It was standing right beside her. Behind the scenes, Dominique was trapped in a toxic relationship with her ex-boyfriend, John Thomas Sweeney. Like many abusive relationships, it didn't begin with violence. It began with controlled jealousy and apologies, the kind that sound convincing until they don't. When Dominique finally found the courage to walk away, she believed she was taking back her life. Instead, tragedy struck. In October 1982, after an argument outside her Los Angeles home, Sweeney attacked her and strangled her into unconsciousness. She never fully recovered and passed away days later at just 22 years old. The heartbreaking truth is that Dominique's story wasn't about a failed Hollywood dream. It was about a young woman trying to choose herself over fear. Her death shocked the entertainment industry and sparked difficult conversations about domestic violence long before the topic received widespread attention. Number 8. Natalie Wood. What really happened on that cold November night, when one of Hollywood's most beloved stars vanished into the darkness more than 4 decades later, the mystery still refuses to sink. Natalie Wood seemed to have everything. She was a child star who successfully became an adult actress, earned 3 Academy Award nominations, and captivated audiences with her beauty charm and emotional depth. From Miracle on 34th Street to West Side Story, she spent much of her life under Hollywood's spotlight. But behind the glamour was a woman carrying pressures that fame could never erase. Then came Thanksgiving weekend, 1981. Wood was aboard her yacht Splendor near California's Catalina Island, with her husband Robert Wagner and actor Christopher Walken. It should have been a relaxing getaway. Instead, it became one of Hollywood's most enduring mysteries. Sometime during the night, Natalie disappeared. Hours later, her body was discovered floating in the water. At first, authorities ruled her death an accidental drowning. Case closed. Or so it seemed. But as years passed, new questions emerged. Witnesses came forward. Investigators revisited the case. Conflicting stories fueled speculation. How did a woman reportedly afraid of dark water end up alone in the ocean? And why do so many questions remain unanswered? Number 9. Dorothy Stratton. Before she became one of Playboy's brightest stars, Dorothy was just a shy young woman working at a Dairy Queen in Canada. Then came the discovery that changed everything. Her beauty caught the attention of promoter Paul Snider, who convinced her to pursue modeling. Almost overnight, Dorothy went from serving ice cream to appearing on magazine covers and stepping into Hollywood's spotlight. But fame has a way of changing relationships. As Dorothy's career skyrocketed, her marriage to Snider began to crumble. She was no longer the uncertain young woman he had met years earlier. She was becoming a star in her own right, earning acting roles and attracting powerful figures in the entertainment industry. While Dorothy looked toward the future, Snider became consumed by jealousy and obsession. Then, in August 1980, tragedy struck. Unable to accept losing control over her, Snider murdered Dorothy before taking his own life. She was only 20 years old. The cruel irony is that Dorothy spent years trying to build a life filled with opportunity only to have it destroyed by someone who claimed to love her. Number 10. Chadwick Boseman. To the world, Chadwick Boseman seemed unstoppable. His powerful performances in Black Panther Marshall and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom turned him into one of Hollywood's most respected actors. Audiences saw strength, confidence, and determination. What they didn't see was the incredible struggle happening behind the scenes. In 2016, Boseman was diagnosed with colon cancer. Most people would have stepped away from the spotlight. Chadwick did the opposite. While undergoing surgeries, treatments, and chemotherapy, he continued filming some of the biggest projects of his career. Think about that for a moment. The man who played King T'Challa was fighting a real-life battle far more difficult than anything in Wakanda, and hardly anyone knew. Friends noticed his weight loss. Social media critics made jokes and wild assumptions. Yet Boseman never publicly complained. He simply kept working, smiling, and inspiring others. When news of his death broke in August 2020, the world was stunned. Fans thought they knew his story, only to discover there was an entire chapter he had carried alone. Number 11. Betty White. For more than 8 decades, Betty brought laughter into American homes. From the Mary Tyler Moore Show to the Golden Girls, she mastered the art of making people smile. While Hollywood careers often burn brightly and disappear, Betty somehow kept getting funnier, sharper, and more popular with age. In fact, she became one of the rare celebrities whose fan base included grandparents, parents, and grandchildren, all at the same time. And let's be honest, Betty White wasn't aging. She was simply leveling up. As she approached her 100th birthday, fans around the world were preparing to celebrate a milestone few people ever reach. Special tributes were planned. Media outlets were counting down the days. It felt less like a birthday and more like a national holiday. Then came the heartbreaking surprise. On December 31st, 2021, just weeks before turning 100, Betty White passed away following complications related to a stroke. The news stunned millions. Somehow, even at 99 years old, people weren't ready to say goodbye. The irony is almost touching. Betty spent her life making people laugh, yet her passing left an entire generation in tears. Number 12. Thelma Todd. In the 1930s, Thelma Todd was one of Hollywood's brightest comedic talents. Beautiful, charismatic, and blessed with impeccable comic timing, she appeared in nearly 100 films and shared the screen with legends like the Marx Brothers. Audiences adored her effortless charm, and it seemed she was destined for an even bigger future. But behind the laughter, complications were brewing. Todd's life had become entangled with powerful figures, troubled relationships, and rumors that swirled through Hollywood's social circles. Then, in December 1935, everything changed. She was discovered dead inside a garage above a popular cafe she co-owned. Authorities ruled the death accidental carbon monoxide poisoning. Case closed. Except not everyone believed it. Almost immediately, questions emerged. Why was she there? Was it truly an accident? Did someone want her silenced? Over the years, theories involving organized crime, jealous associates, and secret disputes transformed her death into one of Hollywood's oldest mysteries. Number 13. Vic Morrow. By the early 1980s, Morrow had already built an impressive career. Audiences knew him from films like Blackboard Jungle and television hits such as Combat, where his tough, commanding presence made him a household name. He wasn't Hollywood's flashiest star, but he was one of those actors who instantly made every scene better simply by showing up. Then came Twilight Zone, the movie. In July 1982, Morrow was filming an intense action sequence involving explosions, helicopters, and 2 child actors. It was meant to be another dramatic Hollywood moment, a few seconds of cinematic excitement that audiences would remember. Instead, it became one of the worst accidents in film history. During filming, a helicopter lost control and crashed. Morrow and the 2 young actors were killed instantly. The tragedy sent shockwaves through Hollywood. Suddenly, questions about movie set safety dominated headlines. How could something like this happen? Could it have been prevented? Number 14. Bob Saget. To millions of viewers, Saget was America's favorite TV dad. As Danny Tanner on Full House, he became the lovable, slightly obsessive father who somehow managed to solve every family problem in under 30 minutes. Off-screen, however, Bob was known for a much edgier sense of humor, something that often surprised fans who expected him to be as squeaky clean as his television character. And honestly, Bob seemed to enjoy that contrast. For decades, he balanced comedy, acting, directing, and stand-up, earning the respect of colleagues across Hollywood. Friends described him as endlessly supportive, generous, and one of the funniest people they had ever met. Then in January 2022, tragedy struck unexpectedly. While on a comedy tour in Florida, Saget was found unresponsive in his hotel room. Authorities later determined he had suffered fatal head trauma after what appeared to be an accidental injury. The news stunned fans because there had been no warning signs. Just hours earlier, he had performed on stage doing what he loved most. Number 15. Rebecca Schaeffer. Rebecca was everything a young star dreams of becoming. Beautiful, talented, and full of optimism, she began her career as a model before landing acting roles that quickly caught Hollywood's attention. Her breakout performance on the sitcom My Sister Sam made her one of television's most promising young actresses. At just 21 years old, her future seemed limitless. But while Rebecca was building a career, someone else was building an obsession. A man named Robert John Bardo became fixated on her. He watched her from afar, studied her life, and convinced himself he had a connection to someone he had never truly met. Like many stalkers, he blurred the line between fantasy and reality until there was no line left at all. Then came July 18th, 1989. After obtaining Rebecca's home address through public records, Bardo traveled to Los Angeles and knocked on her apartment door. Moments later, he shot her. The young actress died before she ever had the chance to fulfill the promise everyone saw in her. The tragedy shocked Hollywood and the nation. It exposed a frightening reality: celebrity visibility often comes with hidden risks. In response, Rebecca's death helped inspire stronger anti-stalking laws and greater privacy protections. Number 16. Sharon Tate. By the late 1960s, Tate seemed to have everything. She was beautiful, talented, and quickly becoming one of Hollywood's brightest rising stars. Her performance in Valley of the Dolls had earned attention, her marriage to director Roman Polanski made headlines, and at just 26 years old, she was preparing for the arrival of her first child. Life appeared picture perfect, but Hollywood has a way of hiding darkness behind sunshine. In August 1969, while 8 months pregnant, Tate was at her Los Angeles home when members of Charles Manson's cult carried out one of the most shocking murders in modern history. The brutal attack stunned the nation and shattered the illusion of safety surrounding celebrity life. The tragedy was almost impossible to comprehend. A young actress with her entire future ahead of her was gone in a single night. Friends described her as warm, kind, and surprisingly down-to-earth qualities often lost amid Hollywood glamour. More than 50 years later, Sharon Tate's name still evokes heartbreak. Not because of the way she died, but because of the life she never got the chance to live. Number 17. Willie Garson. To television fans, Garson was best known as Stanford Blatch, the witty and lovable best friend from Sex and the City. He had a gift for stealing scenes without ever demanding the spotlight. In a world full of larger-than-life personalities, Willie made audiences laugh simply by being himself. And let's be honest, every friend group needs a Stanford even if they don't always admit it. Off-screen, Garson earned a reputation as one of Hollywood's genuinely kind people. Colleagues spoke about his generosity, humor, and ability to brighten even the longest filming days. He wasn't the loudest person in the room, but he was often the one people remembered most. Then came the heartbreaking surprise. In 2021, while still actively working and filming, Garson passed away after a private battle with pancreatic cancer. Many fans had no idea he was ill. His death shocked the entertainment world because he seemed so full of life right up until the end. The cruel irony is that Willie spent decades making people smile while choosing to keep his own struggles largely private. Yet that's also what made him special. He never wanted sympathy. He wanted to keep doing what he loved. Number 18, Carl "Alfalfa" Switzer. Millions knew him as Alfalfa, the lovable troublemaker from the Our Gang comedies. With his cowlick hairstyle, awkward charm, and unforgettable grin, he became one of the most recognizable child stars of the 1930s. Audiences laughed at his antics, and for a while it seemed like Hollywood had handed him a golden ticket. But childhood fame rarely comes with instructions. As Switzer grew older, the roles became harder to find. The little boy everyone adored was now a man struggling to escape the shadow of a character he had played decades earlier. Like many former child stars, he discovered that Hollywood loves discovering young talent, but isn't always sure what to do with it later. To support himself, Switzer worked various jobs far removed from the spotlight he once knew. Then, in 1959, a dispute over money turned deadly. During a confrontation, he was shot and killed at just 31 years old. Number 19, Bruce Lee. Before Bruce Lee became a global icon, he was simply a young martial artist with extraordinary discipline and an even bigger dream. Through films like The Big Boss and Fist of Fury, he transformed martial arts cinema forever. Audiences weren't just watching fight scenes, they were witnessing a revolution. Fast, charismatic, and impossibly confident Lee seemed almost superhuman. In fact, that's part of the problem. The stronger and more legendary Bruce became, the harder it was for people to accept that he was still human. Then came July 20th, 1973. While discussing future film projects in Hong Kong, Lee suddenly collapsed. Despite efforts to save him, he died at only 32 years old. Medical reports pointed to cerebral edema or swelling of the brain. Yet for many fans, the explanation never felt complete. Almost immediately, theories exploded. Secret societies, revenge plots, martial arts curses. The rumors became nearly as famous as the man himself. Number 20, Carole Lombard. Known for her quick wit, infectious energy, and brilliant performances in screwball comedies, Lombard was one of the biggest stars of Hollywood's golden age. She had a rare gift, making audiences laugh effortlessly. In an industry full of carefully crafted images, Carole felt refreshingly real. And perhaps that's why people loved her so much. In 1942, during World War II, Lombard traveled across the country to help sell war bonds and support the national effort. The campaign was a tremendous success. She inspired thousands of Americans to contribute, proving that her influence stretched far beyond movie theaters. But on her journey home, tragedy struck. The plane carrying Lombard crashed into a mountainside near Las Vegas, killing everyone on board. She was only 33 years old. The loss devastated Hollywood. Fans mourned a woman whose laughter had helped define an era. Her husband, Clark Gable, was reportedly shattered by the news. Number 21, Matthew Perry. To millions around the world, Perry was Chandler Bing, the king of sarcasm, awkward jokes, and perfectly timed one-liners on Friends. If there were an Olympic event for witty comebacks, Chandler would have taken home the gold medal. Week after week, audiences laughed with him, quoted him, and felt like they knew him. But behind the laughter was a very different reality. As Friends became one of the biggest television shows in history, Perry struggled with addiction. While viewers saw a successful sitcom star, he was fighting a private war with painkillers and alcohol. In later years, Perry spoke openly about those struggles, hoping his experience could help others facing similar battles. And for a time, it seemed like he had found peace. Then came October 2023. Perry was found unresponsive in a hot tub at his Los Angeles home. He was 54 years old. The news shocked fans worldwide, reopening conversations about addiction, recovery, and the invisible challenges many people carry. Number 22, Susan Cabot. During the 1950s, Cabot built a successful career starring in westerns and adventure films. With her striking presence and strong performances, she became a familiar face to moviegoers. Like many actresses, actors of her era, she worked tirelessly to carve out a place in an industry that rarely made success easy. But the greatest challenge of her life wasn't in Hollywood. It was much closer to home. Cabot devoted much of her later life to caring for her son Timothy. Born with dwarfism, he reportedly struggled with emotional and psychological difficulties throughout his life. As the years passed, those struggles became increasingly severe, creating tension and instability within the family. Then, in December 1986, tragedy struck. Cabot was found beaten to death in her home. The shocking crime stunned Friends fans and investigators alike. Her son later admitted responsibility, claiming he believed he was acting in self-defense during a confrontation. Number 23, Phil Hartman. Phil Hartman wasn't just funny, he was effortlessly funny. Whether on Saturday Night Live, The Simpsons, or the hit sitcom News Radio, he had an incredible ability to disappear into characters and make audiences laugh without ever seeming to try too hard. In a business filled with oversized egos, Hartman earned a reputation as one of the nicest and most respected people in comedy. In many ways, he was the guy everyone wanted to work with. Which is why what happened next felt almost impossible to comprehend. On May 28, 1998, Hartman's life came to a sudden and tragic end when he was shot and killed by his wife, Bryn Hartman, inside their California home. Hours later, she took her own life. The shocking murder-suicide stunned Hollywood and left Friends family and fans struggling to understand how such a tragedy could occur. The cruel irony is especially painful. Phil spent his career bringing joy, laughter, and comfort to millions of people. Yet behind closed doors, serious personal struggles were unfolding that few outsiders fully understood. In the aftermath, conversations about addiction, mental health, and domestic violence gained renewed attention. But for many fans, the loss remains deeply personal. Number 24, Will Rogers. Long before social media influencers and late-night comedians, Rogers was America's favorite storyteller. A cowboy humorist, actor, and newspaper columnist, he had a gift for finding humor in everyday life. His jokes were sharp but never cruel, and somehow he could poke fun at politicians while making them laugh too. In today's world, that might qualify as a superpower. By the 1930s, Rogers was one of the most beloved figures in the country. But beyond comedy, he was fascinated by aviation. Flying represented the future, and Rogers was eager to explore new frontiers and gather stories from places few people had ever seen. Then came August 15, 1935. While traveling through Alaska with legendary aviator Wiley Post, Their aircraft crashed near Point Barrow. Both men were killed instantly. The tragedy stunned America. Newspapers across the country carried the heartbreaking news. It wasn't just the loss of a celebrity, it felt like the loss of a trusted friend. Number 25, Jayne Mansfield. During the 1950s and 1960s, Mansfield was one of Hollywood's most recognizable stars. With her platinum blonde hair, glamorous image, and larger-than-life personality, she was often compared to Marilyn Monroe. But beneath the headlines and publicity stunts was a woman far more ambitious than many people realized. She acted in films, performed on stage, and worked tirelessly to build a career in an industry that often valued appearance over talent. Then came June 1967. While traveling to New Orleans for a performance, Mansfield was riding in a car with several passengers when it slammed into the rear of a tractor trailer. The crash was catastrophic. Mansfield and two others were killed instantly. What followed was a flood of rumors. Over the years, sensational stories about the accident spread across the media, many of them exaggerated or outright false. The myths became almost as famous as Mansfield herself. But behind the headlines lies a far sadder reality. A mother performer and Hollywood star lost her life at just 34 years old. Number 26, Brittany Murphy. With her infectious energy, unique voice, and undeniable talent, Murphy became one of the most recognizable actresses of her generation. Whether she was making audiences laugh in Clueless, holding her own alongside Eminem in 8 Mile, or lending her voice to animated favorites, Brittany had a rare gift. She made every character feel real. But behind the bubbly personality was a woman facing pressures few people could see. Like many young stars, Murphy lived under constant scrutiny. Every appearance, every relationship, every career move became public discussion. Yet despite the attention, she continued working tirelessly, building a reputation as one of Hollywood's most versatile performers. Then in December 2009, tragedy struck. Murphy was found unconscious in her Los Angeles home and later died at just 32 years old. Official reports pointed to a combination of pneumonia, anemia, and medication-related factors. But almost immediately, questions emerged. The mystery deepened months later when her husband, Simon Monjack, died under surprisingly similar circumstances in the same house. The strange similarities fueled endless speculation, turning her death into one of Hollywood's most debated tragedies. Number 27, Ray Liotta. To movie fans, Liotta will forever be remembered as Henry Hill in Goodfellas. With one unforgettable performance, he cemented himself as one of cinema's most compelling actors. He had a way of making dangerous characters feel fascinating, unpredictable, and strangely human. If Hollywood handed out frequent flyer miles for playing criminals, Ray probably would have earned a free trip around the world. But off-screen colleagues described a very different man, hardworking, generous, and deeply committed to his craft. Over a career spanning decades, Liotta appeared in classics like Field of Dreams, Copland, and Blow, proving he could do far more than gangster roles. Even as trends changed and generations of actors came and went, Ray kept working constantly, finding new ways to surprise audiences. Then came May 2022. While filming Dangerous Waters in the Dominican Republic, Liotta passed away in his sleep at the age of 67. The news shocked Hollywood. There was no dramatic scandal, no long public illness, no warning signs. One day he was working on a film set. The next he was gone. Number 28, Judith Barsi. By the age of 10, Judith had already accomplished what many aspiring actors spend a lifetime chasing. With her bright personality, natural talent, and unmistakable voice, she appeared in television commercials, movies, and beloved animated classics like The Land Before Time and All Dogs Go to Heaven. Hollywood saw a star in the making. Audiences saw an adorable child with limitless potential. But the cameras never captured the whole story. Away from movie sets and recording studios, Judith lived in a home overshadowed by violence and fear. Her father struggled with alcoholism and increasingly unpredictable behavior. Friends and colleagues noticed warning signs, but the danger growing inside the household was far worse than anyone realized. Then came July 1988. In an act of unimaginable violence, Judith and her mother were murdered by her father before he took his own life. She was only 10 years old. The tragedy shocked Hollywood and devastated everyone who knew her. It wasn't just the loss of a young actress. It was the loss of a childhood that should have been protected.